joining me for my very first Google Hangout and my paper play today. Today I'm just going to quickly share with you a idea of using Pan Pastels for your mixed media backgrounds. I'm simply going to be creating some to use as ATC backs, such as this one here today, and it's actually going to be part of my post for Altered Pages this month. The design team at Altered Pages is going to be creating projects using Pan Pastels all month long. So we'll get started. So I've just simply got a piece of watercolour paper in front of me, cut to card front size, and that's what I'm using for my backgrounds today. But of course this can be adopted for any paper background or project that you're using or creating them for. I've got this little mini canvas I've done a similar background for as well. Okay, so I'm using the Pan Pastels, the Exploring Mixed Media set. Number 1, as you can see here, you've got 7 colours, so they're the colours I'm using today, and these were actually inspired. We've just reached the start of spring, and I've got a little visitor to my garden that's actually a crossbreed hybrid of a king parrot crossed with a red-winged parrot, and these are actually some of the colours that you'll find on him. So to start with, I'm simply going to colour my background in with some blue, and I'm using the lighter of the 2 blues. So I'm just picking some up on my sponge, and I'm just simply putting colour down. And it's really quick and easy to do with the sponge applicators that come as part of the Pan Pastel sets. This is the larger of the sponge applicators, and I'm just going to make sure that that's blended. And then I'm just going to grab a bit of a wipe and wipe any excess off. Okay, so we've got our background. And as I said, this is going to be a bit of a mixed media, but it is quick and simple. And a simple way to add interest and details is with your stencils. So I've got one in front of me here. It's the Punchinella stencil from the Crafters Workshop. As you can see, there's 3 different designs, so it's easy for me to use that today. So I'm going to start with the stars, and I'm simply going to pick up a little bit of the yellow green on my sponge, and you don't have to pick up much colour at all, and I'm just simply going to put some stars randomly. And so the lighter or the heavier you move and apply the colour, it's entirely up to you. So you can see there on that side I've gone a little bit lighter than that side there, and we're just going to add a little bit more there. Okay, so moving to another colour and another part of my stencil, I'm going to use some spots, and I'm going to pick up some red now. And I've actually got a little bit of red still on from my last use, so I don't need to pick up the colour because there's already plenty of colour on my sponge. And it doesn't matter if you overlap. This was part of the play today, was to show you that you've got the possibility of layering on top of one another. Okay, so while I've still got the spots, I'm now going to use a different medium, and I'm going to use some ink. I've got the Radiant Neon ink in Electric Pink here with me today, so I'm going to use a little bit of that. So I'm just going to pick some up on the sponge and sponge some on. And again, it doesn't matter if we're overlapping areas. Just put a little bit more over there. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to use some spray ink now, and I'm going to use the honeycomb pattern. And I've got the vibrant turquoise, which is one of my favourite colours in the Delusions, and I'm simply going to just give it a few quick spurts, and I did say I was going to use the honeycomb, didn't I? A few quick spurts, and then I'm just going to turn my stencil over so that excess ink gets picked up as well. You can see why my hand was already green when I started the video today, because I've been playing with it. And then I'm just going to take some paper towel and dry off any excess. Now, if you wanted to do some dripping with your dilutions, you could spray a bit of water before I patted dry with my paper towel and let it run, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So basically, we've just shown you that you can layer various mediums. So I've used some ink, some spray inks and some pan pastels there, and layered over the top of one another. I'm now going to go back to my pan pastels, and using a Cuba stencil from the Crafters Workshop also, I'm going to pick up some white on a sponge, and I'm just looking for sponges that have got some clean side, and I'm simply going to stencil that again over parts of my design. So you can see there we've got some of the cubist design coming through there now. Okay, so from a layering of stencil point of view, that's all we're going to do. Next, what I want to do is add some more interest. So I'm going to use some stamping, and I'm going to use some black ink, because I always find that when I'm using bright colours, black always seems to ground and pull all the colours together. Now, that was my phone, sorry about that. Someone else in the house has grabbed it, which is good. So next I'm going to get some black VersaFine ink, and I'm simply going to use my stamps for mark making. I don't have to have anything stamped perfectly. So I'm starting with just a script stamp. I've got a French script stamp, and I'm just going to, without using an acrylic block to hold my stamp, I'm just pressing my stamp into the ink, and I'm just going to randomly press some of my areas that I've picked up ink onto my background. Okay, I'll just wipe a little bit of excess away there. And next I've got some dilutions stamps from the Around the Edge set. So these ones I use quite a bit. So I've got my vine here. I really love this one for the numbers in this leaf. And I'm also going to use my checkered border. So with the vine, again, I'm only going to ink up probably the first 3 stamps. That'll just give me a little bit of control because I'm not using a block, but it's also because I'm not wanting the whole vine. I'm just wanting to put some interest onto my background, and it doesn't have to even be the whole leaf stamping out for me. I'm quite happy for it just to give the impression that there's some sort of leaves going on. Okay, so really, as I said, I like that numbered leaf, so I'm just gonna pick it up a little bit. Okay, and then finally I'm going to pick up some ink just on one end of my checkered border, and I'm just going to randomly stamp that around the edges, and I'm not doing the whole edge, I'm just doing some of the edges. And what you'll find is I'm using this on the edges, and if I cut this down to ATCs, which is what I'm planning on doing with this background, I can go back later and add this around the edges that get cut when I cut it to size. So if you want to turn it the other way so that's going in a bit deeper into the design, we can. And if you wanted to add more, we can. So again, I'm just going to get rid of the sponge and wipe that down. Okay, so from an interest point of view, I think that's created enough interest for now, and I can go back and add some more if I feel it needs more. And actually I might just add one more little thing. I've got a hand carved stamp here. It's just been carved out of an eraser. So I'm going to just try and get this one little end of a checkered, and I'm just going to try very carefully to just put a few little stripes of these checks through my designs here, and I can turn it either way. Okay. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, I want to bring a little bit more colour back into the foreground. We've got a lot of colour in the background. So I'm going to grab an earbud, and I'm going to grab, I might grab some red to start with, and I'm just going to add some colour in more to the foreground. So I'm going to add it to my little stamping edges here, where I've stamped the checkered border. And I'm just sort of blending it in then with my finger, and then I'm going to grab some of the yellow green, and I'm going to colour in some of my leaves. Again, just giving it a bit of a blend in with the finger. And you can see that with using the Pan Pastels over everything we've done, we've still got the definition of the underneath layers coming through, and that's what creates really great interest to your backgrounds when you're working with a mix of medias like this, mediums I should say, like this. Okay, so basically that's ready now to be cut down and used for ATC backgrounds. So as I said, here's one I've done before earlier. So that's basically it. Now it's up to me to decide on what I'm going to add over the top. If you wanted to keep them in larger formats, I've done a little background here, and I've simply added some collage back butterflies and a stamp sentiment, which was also a Delusion stamp. So it's very versatile for ATCs, cards, journal pages, and as I showed you before, the little mixed media canvases. So thank you for joining me today. It was a very quick paper play, and as I said, this is a post for September for Altered Pages. And do pop over to the blog every day throughout the month for your chance to win your very own set of Pan Pastels. You simply need to leave a comment on each of the designers' posts. The more comments you leave, obviously, the more chances per month you have to win that set. So thank you, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.